everybody. Good afternoon. It's Denise at Blaze K Mountain Homestead. Well, I'm so glad you're here to hang out with me, and we are going to make a couple meals today that do not have meat, but they do have cheese. There's one that has egg in it, and I think that's about it as far as dairy products. Oh, and some butter. I'm going to use some butter to fry. But I consider these meatless meals because there's no meat. They're really good and they're very hearty, and they're summertime delicious recipes. And they use squash, tomatoes, onions, peppers, mushrooms if you've got them. I don't. Cheese of your choice. I always have used cheddar cheese. Willis brought me back some cheddar cheese from Wisconsin last week. He was up there delivering. So I've got to grate that. And I've got mozzarella. And I've also got some Swiss. And I've got some Parmesan already grated. You're going to need mayonnaise. You're going to either need fresh garlic or garlic powder. That's what I'm going to use. I'll have all of the ingredients in the description box so you guys won't miss anything. And of course you need salt and pepper. You can use dry roasted, sun roasted tomatoes if you want to. I've got fresh. I've always used fresh with this recipe because it's fresh from the garden, and it's called squash tomato pie. And you might think, I don't know if I like this. Give it a try. You'll be pleasantly surprised. This is, I think, a quintessential southern dish for the harvest, the early harvest coming from your garden. So what I'm going to do is get all my ingredients ready to go. And I've got to slice some zucchini, and I'm going to slice it thinly in some rings. I've got yellow squash, same thing. I've got some bell pepper. Now I'm using the orange because I don't want the flavor of the green pepper. You know, there is a difference in the flavors, which this can be overpowering to squash. I'm using the bell pepper because I like the sweetness and I like the color. And I've got a red onion for color. You can use white onion, yellow onion, whatever you want to use. Green onions, that's up to you, but you want some onion flavor. And I think that's about it as far, and like I said, mushrooms if you have them. If I had them, I would definitely use them, but we used them a couple weeks ago when we had our shish kebabs. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything sliced up, and I'll meet you back at the stove. All right, here we are at the stove. Now, like I said, this is a meatless meal. I'm using a cast iron skillet because it will actually put some iron into our food. And that way, if you are a vegetarian or don't like meat meals and you need iron, because we do need that for our bodies. I found out that I'm anemic, and so my doctor told me to start using cast iron, which I normally do, but I don't eat a lot of fried stuff. So I'm going to saute all of my stuff that I need to today in a cast iron skillet. So, kill two birds with one stone. So what I need to do is put some butter in here. I've got my oven preheated at 350. You also need a 9-inch deep dish pie crust. Now I made mine, and I made it with vegetable shortening. And there's mine. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's mine. You can just buy yours from the store. And I like to go ahead and pre-bake mine for about 20 minutes. It just makes it so not everything is so soggy in the bottom. I've tried to make this with a raw pie crust, and because of so much liquid in everything, it kind of makes it soggy, and we don't want soggy bottoms. All right, so I've got my butter melting in here, and to this we are going to add actually I like to add the onions first. I've got one large red onion, and like I said earlier, you can use whatever onion you want. If you want to use Vidalia, yellow onions, whatever kind, but you're going to need one large. And then to that I'm going to put one medium bell pepper. I cut my tomatoes in slices because you want them in slices. Everything is in slices. That's what's kind of neat about this. It's so pretty with presentation. If your tomato is really juicy, go ahead and put some paper towels and just let that sit on your paper towels. Can't talk. And let it soak up some of that juice, because the less water in this pie, the better off we are. Okay, so let me just set that over here. And then I have about 5 cups of sliced zucchini, which was 2 small yellow and a half of the big zucchini that I had. So it comes out to about 5 cups because this is a 4-cup measure. All right, let me turn it up just a little bit. I'm going to put all of that in here. And what we're going to do is saute all of these vegetables. We're going to let them sweat down. And it's going to be wonderful. The smell will be great. Okay, so then this is where you can be creative. You can either have a lot of spice or a little spice. Now, I like a lot of spice because, like I said, zucchini kind of picks up the flavors that you add to it, and so does yellow squash. So, what I've got here, I don't need my paprika yet, but I will need paprika. I have parsley. I have got some crushed red pepper. Now, if you want more heat than that, you can always dice up a little jalapeno and add that to that too. I don't want this to be a real spicy dish. Just maybe a little spicy, but not like terribly over the top. Garlic powder, and let me see, what else do I have? I've got some sweet basil. I've also got thyme, and then I have a garlic herb combination. So I'm just going to play with these and see what I like. Okay, so let's go ahead and cover this, and we'll be back. Okay, I went ahead and let this saute. I just turned it once. So to this, I'm going to go ahead and salt and pepper to taste. And I'm going to use cracked pepper. And again, it's salt and pepper to taste. So I'd say I put in about maybe a teaspoon of salt and probably a half a teaspoon of cracked pepper. Now to this, I'm going to add my concoction of spices that I chose. And I'm going to use onion powder, which was 1/2 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, 1/4 teaspoon of sweet basil. And I used a little bit of this garlic herb that I got from Pampered Chef because it's really tasty. And we're just going to go ahead and sprinkle that right on top. And I'm going to put the lid back on this, let it go ahead and saute down a little bit more. And then I'll turn it. You don't want these like super soggy because they're going to bake in the oven too in your pie. So while that is sauteing down with the spices, I'm going to go ahead and make the topping. So this is really good. You're going to take cheddar cheese, so about a 1/2 cup of cheddar cheese, and a 1/2 cup of shredded mozzarella. You're going to mix all that together with 3/4 cup of mayonnaise. Now I like Duke's, but that's up to you. And then to that, we're going to go ahead and add, this is a 1/2 cup of parm. I'm going to go ahead and put maybe a couple tablespoons in there. Then we're going to add some Spanish paprika. If you don't have Spanish, that's fine. Just a pinch is fine. And a pinch of red pepper flakes. And a little bit of parsley. Okay, now we're going to mix all of this up really well. If you don't have cheddar cheese, you can use Colby Jack or something like that, but I like it with the cheddar cheese. It really gives it a good flavor. Now I also have a little bit of cornmeal right here. This is cornmeal without anything in it. I like to sprinkle that on the bottom of my pie crust before I start adding all the vegetables because it does help with a soggy bottom as well. So let me go ahead and turn that around. Let's split this one more time. Oh, it smells so good. You see how beautiful and colorful this is? So pretty. You just kind of want to get all the little spices mixed around in there too. Okay. And when your zucchini, especially that's going to be the one that's going to take the longest, looks like it is sauteed and kind of limp, excuse me, that's when you're going to know it's ready to assemble. So, let's go ahead and make room over here for my pie crust. Okay, like I said, I like to sprinkle a little bit of this, and that'll be soaked up in the sauce, the butter and everything from your vegetables. Okay, so what we're going to do now is put the whole bunch of these vegetables. Let me get that over a little bit so I don't make a mess. Here. You're just going to go ahead and put this in here. There doesn't have to be any rhyme or reason how you do it. That's up to you. But you do want them leveled out the best that you can do. That looks good already. Now while this is baking, I'm going to go ahead and make another meatless meal. So we'll have two that you can have and serve. There is that. Doesn't that look good? Oh my gosh. Alright, we're going to put this up here out of the way. Turn that off. Now to this, I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of this Parmesan. Just like that. And then I have some Swiss cheese. If you don't like Swiss, you can use whatever kind of cheese you think. I think other than cheddar, unless you really like your cheddar, go ahead and put a couple of these right there on top. I'll go ahead and put 3 because that'll kind of cover that. Okay. Now to this, oh yeah, we're supposed to add an egg to this too. This was something I didn't normally do, but I heard about adding an egg to your cheese mixture. So let's go ahead and do that. That'll just bind it up a little bit better. Okay, there's that. Okay, and you've got your cheese there. Now we're going to go ahead and put a layer of your tomatoes, fresh tomatoes. I always use fresh tomatoes. If you want to use sun-dried tomatoes, that's up to you. And these have really gotten dry from being on the paper towel, so they won't be too juicy. They'll be a little bit juicy, but not too bad. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add this, our cheese, egg, mayonnaise mixture. I make this every year. I just love it. And we're just going to go ahead and spread that out to the edges. Don't go over. You want it to stay within your pie crust. And if you have to kind of tuck those tomatoes down, go ahead and do it. Because it's going to be bubbly and it's going to form a really yummy, yummy crust. There you go. Nobody wants to get out of the sides here. Okay, that is that. Oh, and when I make my pie crust for this, when I make it homemade, if you bought one, don't worry about it. When I do make homemade, I like to make it leave it a little bit thicker crust. When I'm making a fruit pie or something, I like it to be a thinner crust that's more crispy. This thicker crust will kind of hold up with all the weight of the vegetables. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put this in our 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. And let that cook until it gets nice and bubbly, and it will be wonderful. So let me get everything ready for the next recipe. Okay, this recipe, again, is a meatless meal. It has cheese in it, and it's got olive oil, spray, and vegetable oil in it. Other than that, everything else is vegetables. I've got finely chopped white onion. You can use a red or whatever, just like the last recipe. It's really creative. And I've got some of the orange pepper there because I had it left from the previous recipe, so I went ahead and used that. If you want to use green pepper in this, by all means, go ahead. I have made this with hamburger, so if you want to make it with hamburger, you can just go ahead and fry that up, add all this to your hamburger, and we're going to slice these zucchinis. Go ahead and take all of the seeds and the pulp out, and we're going to chop that up, and we're going to put that in with this too. Okay. These are really small zucchinis, as you can see. I wanted them that small. They're kind of got stuff on it, but I wanted them that small because they're very tender at this stage, and I've got 3 of them. So let's go ahead and put all of our onion and pepper right here. Now, I don't saute this because it's going to cook for a half hour and it'll go ahead and cook down. If you want to saute that, you certainly can. Like I said, and if you want to make that with hamburger, you can do that too. Okay, these have already been washed. I'm going to go ahead and cut the ends off and just put them aside, and then we're going to cut these right down the middle as evenly as possible. And you can see there's hardly any seeds in them. And we are going to this will make 6. This was something that we just loved to eat when we were kids. It was a treat. Zucchini boats. This is the vegetarian way, or meatless. So, there's that. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a spoon. And for each one of these, I'm just going to go ahead and take all the seeds out. And what you're doing is you're going to go ahead and make a little cavern in each one. You don't want to go all the way to the end. Just like a dugout canoe, you want to be able to keep your ends, and that'll hold in your mixture. So let me come back when I finish that. Okay, I thought I had it recording, but I didn't actually. Let's start all over with this part. I've got every one of the zucchinis hollowed out. So they're your little boats. And to the zucchini pulp, I chopped up really fine, and I added it to the onion and the bell pepper. And to that, I added a half a cup of shredded mozzarella, just about a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. I added a pinch of red pepper, pinch of parsley, and I sliced up a little bit of jalapeno pepper. So that is all in here. And I'm just going to go ahead and mix that around. And the cup of dry breadcrumbs. And I'm actually going to add a teeny bit of water here, because it is a little bit dry. That was 1/3 of a cup, so we'll see how that goes. Because you want to be able to kind of mold that on top. That cheese and the breadcrumbs makes it really dry. Maybe a little bit. Alright, that looks good. And let me go ahead and put a pinch of salt in here too. And some black pepper. A little bit of salt. And cracked black pepper. Now you can add cheddar cheese to this if you wanted to too, but since we already have the pie in the oven, and that's got mostly cheddar in it, I thought we would just go ahead and use the mozzarella and the Parmesan in here. But if you've got Colby Jack or anything like that, you can add. Okay, so what we're going to do now, to each one of these boats, we're going to go ahead and just pack it with this delicious mixture. If you don't like onions, you don't have to put onions in it, but I love onions. So there's one boat that's filled. And yeah, you're not going to have a big space in these little zucchinis, but they're the best to use because they're so tender. And I just kind of mold it on there. And if you wanted to use this with bell peppers or green peppers, you could do that too. You could also put rice in here if you wanted. I think I'm going to have just enough for these. And I can always go back and just put more on top because it is a wet ingredient here, so I can mold it in there. It's really good. And it smells yummy too. Geez, that was perfect. I don't usually have it come out perfect like that, but this did really good. Yay. Yay me. Okay, there's that. Let me give my hands a really quick wash there. I know I've got a sink full of dishes, guys. It's real life. I need to come back and wash them while I'm cooking these. All right, now, here's our container. I'm going to go ahead and put some vegetable oil in the bottom. And just get that all the way around there. And I'm going to put, now if these weren't going to fill this whole container, you can always like cut a little bit on the bottom there so they'll stand up, but I think these will be fine. And we're just going to put all of these guys in here. Isn't that pretty? All right, now to this, I'm going to go ahead and add a little more Parmesan cheese on top. And we're going to bake these at 350 for 30 minutes too. And we'll use the rest of my Parmesan. Just sprinkle it over all of them. Okay, we'll put those in the oven. And I should be able to bring that pie out. Let's see. What a mess. Let's see what the pie looks like. Exactly. Let me back that up just a little bit. There we go. Well, maybe you probably want to see what I'm doing. Let's see if that's done yet. Oh yeah. Here's the pie. It's been a half hour. Here is our luscious pie with the tomatoes, the zucchini, and onions. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and, well, you know what I want to do real fast is with my spray oil, I'm going to just spray the tops of these. Just so they get a little bit crunchy. And these are going to go in for a half hour. So by the time these are done, that should be pulled off and ready for us to eat. All right, there you go. 350 for 30 minutes. We'll see you in a minute. Well, 30 minutes, right? Okay, we have got our meal completed. Let me just say, if you wanted to make these together, Now this pie is still piping hot, but if you wanted it all to come out at once, you would go ahead and you'd make this first, and then make that, and put them both in the oven at the same time, because they both take a half hour. I didn't do that because I was making a video, but they're both really hot, and I'm excited to try it. Something else that I made is something we always had for the harvest, especially when cucumbers and tomatoes came out. This is just something simple. I just sliced some cucumbers, cut up some chunky tomatoes, and put some salad dressing in there, Italian salad dressing. And I let them kind of marinate for about a half hour while that was cooking. And that's just a delicious side. So let me go ahead and serve myself one of these delicious boats. They want to stick together, the cheese. Now they are done. You just take a little knife and you go right through that zucchini. Beautiful, just beautiful. That's still pretty hot. Let me go ahead and sit it over here. And then we are going to cut our pie. And like I said, it's still hot. Isn't that pretty? I just love it. And you want to cut all the way down. Get through all your vegetables. And I'm going to cut a pretty decent piece. Alright, I can feel it went through everything. And hopefully it'll stick together. Now I do like to let it sit a little bit so it will stick together. And there is your pie. Isn't that beautiful? Let's see if I can bring it over there without it falling. All your layers. And you can see the steam coming off of it. So it is done. Move this over here. Beautiful meal. Meatless meal all the way. And I'm going to serve myself a few of these. That's just something that is fresh. Isn't that beautiful? I think it is. I hope you guys will try these recipes. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for everybody watching. Thanks for all my new subscribers. Thank you for all my old subscribers. I really am happy that you guys are hanging out with us. Let me go ahead and give this a try, because you know I always do a taste test. So good. Oh man. That is so good. And no soggy bottom. At all. There is no juice in the bottom of that pan. So that that cornmeal really does help. Now let's try one of these guys. Go ahead and get this big bite here. That is so good. My goodness, it tastes like summer. And of course, have a tomato. I hope you can tell I love it. And some sweet tea. Thanks again for hanging out with me. Hope you'll like, share, and subscribe like I said a minute ago. Sorry about that. And we'll see you real soon. Bye.